Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, unfortunately, we're going to be covering a topic I really tried to avoid. I didn't want to give this individual any attention. I didn't want to feed into the publicity of this individual or the FUD that, in my opinion, they spread. I just don't have a choice, because I came across a video today watching some things on YouTube, and I realized nobody's actually covered this in a way that I thought made sense. So I figured, well, I guess I have to do it. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this individual, and we're going to be pushing back against some of the BS rhetoric that they're trying to put on Tesla when it comes to full self-driving, when it comes to autopilot. So do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and let's get into it.
My biggest concern is that Tesla is rolling out full self-driving technology in beta on city streets with untrained drivers, and they have not addressed our recommendations that we've issued as a result of numerous investigations of Tesla crashes.
Have you discussed this personally with Elon Musk? Have you had a phone call with him or a meeting face-to-face where you've said, look, here's A, B, and C of what needs to be done. Why haven't you done this?
This is an excellent question by Phil here, mainly because you need substance whenever you're going to criticize anybody. And so let's take a step back here. So this is Jennifer Hammond, however you say her name, doesn't really matter. She is on the board of the NTSB. They are like a suggestive committee for NHTSA. So they don't actually have any power or anything, but they're a advisement recommendation type committee that assist NHTSA, but NHTSA is the only regulatory body that can actually implement any rules. The NTSB really has no power, but she leads it, and she's a very vocal person on the NTSB, and mainly strictly against Tesla and Elon Musk. The conversation here is that she's sitting there saying that there's a problem with FSD beta, and you heard her say at the very beginning, if you don't remember, rewind, you'll hear she says FSD beta. That will be the last time she ever uses the word beta in this entire interview, because the entire premise of her argument is based around Tesla and Elon are advertising, which we all know they don't do any advertising, FSD. Not FSD beta, FSD. So let's keep watching here. Just to recap, Philabo asked, hey, have you talked to Elon and said, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z in order to, in our opinion, NTSB's opinion, to have this as a safe product for the road. Let's hear what her response is.
Yeah, I don't know Mr. Musk. We have never met, but this isn't about Mr. Musk, and it's certainly not about me.
She sure makes it seem like it's about her.
The NTSB and I specifically meet people on their worst day of their lives after a crash, after they've lost a loved one. That is part of our job at the NTSB. And our job is to determine what happened, why it happened, and prevent a crash from happening again. So
what she's saying here is that her whole goal, NTSB, is about preventing crashes, right? That's what they care about, preventing crashes. Keep that in mind. That's her argument right here, that, hey, we're the good guys. All we care about is preventing crashes. That's what we're here. We're on people's worst possible day, right? She's trying to appeal to that emotion of people who just get in a crash, and that is a lot of times the worst part, or the worst days of their lives, especially if they lost a loved one. And right now, what she's doing is, in my opinion, just criminal. She's sitting there trying to appeal on people's emotions for her argument, which it's clever if you're trying to win an argument or get people on your side, but factually, it is dishonest. Let's keep watching.
We conduct a thorough investigation, and at the end of that investigation, we issue findings of probable cause and safety recommendations. And then we work extensively with the recipients of those recommendations to ensure they're implemented, because it's not until they're implemented that safety is truly improved. And in this case, we haven't received a response from Tesla in 4 years, yet we've reiterated those recommendations numerous times.
What recommendation can she possibly give to Tesla that they're not already doing? They are the safest vehicles in the world, not just one of them, all of them. FSD beta has had 0 crashes. And you'll see where she starts to conflate FSD beta with autopilot or auto steer. You'll see that in a second here. But the whole point here is these are the safest cars. Tesla has the least amount of accidents per mile driven than any other vehicle, any other manufacturer in the world. You are less likely, depending on what you're using, if you're using auto steer, autopilot, you are almost 5 to 6 to 7 times less likely to get in an accident than you are in other vehicles. It's what the data shows, right? This isn't me being a Tesla fanboy. This isn't me being a Tesla investor bias, Elon bias. This has nothing to do with me being anything against her. This is the data. Per X amount of miles driven, Tesla's getting less accidents. This is straight data from NHTSA. This isn't even data that's just fabricated to benefit Tesla. Now, people will make arguments. Oh, well, the majority of their stuff is used on highways. Well, where do you think the deadliest crashes occur? On the highways. Where do you think most people are likely to use autopilot? On the highways. So, yes, of course. Like, it's just common sense.
Chair Hammond, let's be clear. Tesla does tell the owners of its vehicles, whether it's using autopilot or full self-driving beta, look, you have to be vigilant and pay attention when you are behind the wheel. In fact, we have a tweet from Elon Musk we can show you. This was just a few weeks ago where he says, FSD beta system at times can seem so good that vigilance isn't necessary, but it is. Also, any beta user who isn't super careful will get booted. 2,000 beta users operating for almost a year with no accidents needs to stay that way. Are they not doing enough? I mean, he's telling people you need to be engaged when you're behind the wheel. That's not enough?
No, that's not enough.
I gotta stop there. First of all, Elon just got done saying that if anybody is caught not using FSD beta the correct way, they will get booted. Then in that same tweet, he says with 2,000 drivers for over a year, there have been 0 accidents. Then Phil goes ahead and asks Jennifer, is that not enough? And she says no. So 0 accidents over a year with 2,000 testers, and that's not enough. 0 accidents. I mean, I thought she was all about preventing accidents. I thought people's worst days. What's the problem? Is it that people aren't getting accidents, so now you're upset because your job may be antiquated or obsolete? Like, there's a problem here. If anything, she should be applauding that. And not only that, but the CEO is saying, if you get caught misusing this technology, you will be booted. And she says, no, that does not go far enough. It's ridiculous.
It's clear that if you're marketing...
Okay, so, and I forgot about this part. So she sits there and says that Tesla's marketing and advertising this as full self-driving. Notice how she just conveniently decides to drop off the beta. All of a sudden, Tesla's apparently advertising and marketing this as full self-driving. Beta. That matters. Her whole argument, the whole premise of this argument with the labeling of full self-driving is that people get lured into this falsehood that this thing means something, and people are just too stupid to understand what it means. Well, if her argument is that these words give a implication of a certain meaning, that, the context of these words have certain meaning, well, then so does beta. The beta part is very significant there. Yet she is claiming to care about this so much, and she's choosing to drop off the word beta. You would think someone who cares so much about this, so passionate about the phrasing of what they call this software, you wouldn't forget about beta. But she does, over and over again. And that's how she's trying to make her argument. Her whole case here is that full self-driving, beta, is a dangerous name. That's the only thing she has here. Notice, she has had opportunity after opportunity so far to say, this is where they screw up. They don't do this. They don't do that. They have these issues. They have those issues. Here's the proof. They've had these accidents. They've had these near misses. But no, she doesn't. She has nothing here. All she's going to talk about is the terminology full self-driving. And she's going to conveniently over and over forget to add in beta. It's ridiculous.
Something as full self-driving, and it is not full self-driving, and people are misusing the vehicles and the technology, that you have a design flaw.
So people are misusing the technology, and so that means you have a design flaw. Okay, so that's your logic. So then every single person driving a vehicle out there misuses the technology. All of them. People who don't wear seatbelts, people who text and drive, people who get distracted by the radio, people who have kids in the back seat and they drop something, they're trying to pick it up. People who are too tired to drive. Well, the technology of the vehicle doesn't prevent you from misusing it or doing something you're not supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be sitting there grabbing the toy that your kid just dropped. You're not supposed to be sitting there taking your eyes off the road to change the radio station. You're not supposed to be driving without your seatbelt on, even if it is for 2 blocks. You're not supposed to do any of these things. You're not supposed to text and drive. So that means that the auto manufacturers have a design flaw, is what she's saying. Meanwhile, again, Tesla, full self-driving, beta, has had 0 accidents over the last year with 2,000 beta testers. Well, there's a disconnect here. You know, I think the real design flaw is whatever's sitting between her ears.
And you have to prevent that misuse. And part of that is how you talk about your technology. It is not full self-driving unless you're saying the car is actually, the driver is actually driving the car, which in this case, it isn't full self-driving technology. It's misleading.
We agree on something. It's about how you talk about it, is what she's saying. It's about how you talk about full self-driving beta. The way she talks about it without the beta is honestly dishonest. It's not safe. If what she's saying is true, she's promoting full self-driving without talking about the beta part. And if what she's saying is true, what matters is how you talk about it. Elon Musk just had a tweet up that Phil LeBeau show saying, don't misuse it or you'll be booted. We've had 2,000 drivers for the last year with 0 accidents. Needs to stay that way. What part of this isn't registering to her? This makes no sense. But you know what? Maybe I need to take a step back here. Maybe I just don't understand where she's coming from. Maybe I need to do a deeper dive into her background, because clearly, for her to have this position as this advisor for NHTSA on the NTSB board, that she must have some real engineering, real physics type background where she actually knows what she's talking about. She's a trained scientist, engineer. Like, she must have this wealth of knowledge where she understands the fundamental nuances that come with neural nets and whether or not you're using vision-based neural nets versus LiDAR, right? It must be that she has a deeper understanding than I do. Again, I'm just a trivial engineer, right? Like, what do I know? So let's take a look at her background. So here's the Wikipedia page for Jennifer Hammond. If we look at here, we can see a little bit about her background, but let's start here with early life and education. So let's see, she must be an engineer, right? She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree. Well, that's got nothing to do with engineering or physics. That's weird. Pennsylvania State University, and a master's candidate. Just a candidate? From Clemson. Okay, well, all right. So maybe the education wasn't a good example, right? Sometimes people, get into a certain education and then they end up doing something completely left that's very, engineering related. So let's take a look at that. So, all right, her career. In 1996 and 1997, she worked as a government relations manager at the American Iron and Steel Institute. So she was a government relations manager. So she's just another crony government worker. From 1997 to 1999, she was a legislative representative for the AFL-CIO, Transportation Trades Department. What is that? Let's look this up. The American Federation of Labor and Congress and Industrial Organization is the largest federation of unions in the United States. Well, that's very interesting. So she has some affiliations with unions in her background, which is very interesting too, because didn't this current administration, the Biden administration, just have their EV summit at the White House? That EV summit where they just so happen to shun Tesla. In other words, like we discussed in yesterday's video, if you go get a tissue, people think Kleenex, the brand. If you go to buy an EV, no one asks you what EV you're buying. They just assume it's a Tesla. That's the company that Joe Biden decided to snub. That's the administration that invited the UAW, but not Tesla, a union. They invited Ford, who hires union workers, invited GM, who hires union workers, even invited Stellantis, that's not even based in the United States. The same administration that wants to give funding for union workers, even though companies like Ford are building the Mach-E in Mexico. So that's right. Your tax dollars will go to these unions that are building vehicles outside the United States. Meanwhile, Tesla makes all of their vehicles for North America here in the United States with US workers and pays them more with better benefits. And they get stock share, stock compensation, employee stock purchase plan. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But there's clearly some synergies here with the Biden administration and Ms. Jennifer here. With regards to unions. So that's starting to add up a little bit here. From 2004 to 2018, she was a Democratic staff member of the United States Transportation Subcommittee. Okay, so She has never done anything other than be someone in government, odd jobs, manager here, representative here. She has no engineering background. She has no physics background. She's not a scientist. I mean, she's not anything. She has no actual technical nature to her job. All she is a government worker. And somehow she knows about safety for vehicles, a topic that is purely a physics and engineering topic. And she knows what it is. And again, her whole thing,
it's all about the phrasing. The phrasing of full self-driving. That's the issue. It's the phrasing. If Tesla wouldn't call it full self-driving, we would never have an accident. If Tesla would just rename it, there'd be no issues. Oh, man. She's so smart.
All right. Let's scroll down. Oh, this is wild. So even within the Wikipedia page, there's a part here for Tesla criticism for her. Like, that just shows how biased you are. Hammond has been critical of Tesla Inc.'s so-called full self-driving feature. Doesn't even say beta in here. She called the term full self-driving misleading and irresponsible and urged Tesla to address safety issues identified by the NTSB before expanding full self-driving features that operate on city streets. Well, all right, first of all, what safety issues did you have with the full self-driving? There have been 0 accidents. You haven't been involved in anything. You've never even had full self-driving because you're not one of the 2,000 beta testers. So what are your safety issues there? That makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to give this any more attention. My whole point of wanting to make this video is just to address the, complete FUD happening here, the BS nature of everything she's saying about Tesla. You can't sit here and tell me, hey, what they're doing is unsafe, what they're doing is irresponsible, that they're not fixing their safety issue. What are they? You just had a whole platform on national television to say, hey, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, and they haven't done this. You didn't do that. The only thing you mentioned was the terminology they use for a software they're developing that's in a beta stage. I understand you have no technical background, but let me inform you, whenever something is being worked on actively and it's not ready for prime time, it's called a beta. Before that, it's an alpha stage. These are the iterations you go through in order to get to the final product. This is how it works. This is a natural order of things, okay? We have to test things out before we can fully roll them out. And there's a reason why we call it full self-driving beta, because words matter and words have meaning. You can't just drop off arguably the most critical part of that phrasing. And for you to sit there and say that because somebody can misuse a technology, that means there's a design flaw in that technology, well, then every single piece of technology has a design flaw. Every single piece. An airplane pilot can all of a sudden decide to just nosedive the plane down to the ground. Anybody driving their vehicle can all of a sudden say, you know what, I'm going to take a sharp right turn off of this bridge. Anybody can choose to grab their cell phone and just peg it at somebody else's head. It's a misuse of the technology. Does that mean it's a design flaw? No, that means people have responsibility. People need to take ownership of what their actions are. You cannot design out all the issues and all of the randomness of human beings and what they're going to do. Humans aren't going to pay attention always. Humans are going to misuse and try to abuse and push the line. Okay, this is what humans do. There's a lot of smart people out there. There's a lot of dumb people out there. You cannot create a bubble world to address all these people. You can do your best, you can place guardrails, and you can make recommendations, but at the end of the day, whoever is operating, whoever is using, whoever is committing certain actions, it is on them to take ownership for their decisions. End of story. It has nothing to do with political correctness. It has nothing to do with, trying to make sure that we're being on the side of safety or on people's worst possible days. No, you have to take ownership for your own actions. That's just then end of the story. If you abuse this technology, it's on you. You got to own it. We're going to leave it there for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't too aggressive for some of you. Do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. I appreciate everybody who stuck to the end. Please help sharing this message. We need to fight this FUD all together, right? If you share this video, if you tell your friends about it, or even someone who's sitting there telling you how Tesla's unsafe, please share videos like this. Not just mine, but there's other people who have videos similar to this. Teslas are safe. Tesla's arguably, doing the most out there in the world for safety when it comes to vehicles. It's not even a question, right? The data's there, the facts are there. So please help, fight the misinformation out there when it comes to Tesla. All right. I appreciate all of you again. I love you all. Peace.